In 2023, Preprints.org launched the most popular Preprints Award to recognize outstanding contributions to science. This award is more than just recognition. It's about advancing open science, sharing groundbreaking research worldwide, and fostering a global community of knowledge. "16 preprints in 8 subject categories received this honor. Next, we proudly present the second prize winner in Biology and Life Sciences. This award goes to groundbreaking research titled Cross-Species Transcriptomics Analysis Highlights Conserved Molecular Responses to Per- and Polyfluoroalkyl Substances, PFAS, authored by Livia Beccaceche, Filippo Costa, Jennifer Paola Pascali, and Federico Manuel Giorgi. Now, we have the privilege of hearing from Professor Federico Manuel Giorgi, one of the award winners.
Currently, I'm a professor in bioinformatics at the University of Bologna. And although I didn't train as that, because bioinformatics is kind of new, although it's like decades old, I started as a molecular biologist. I got my degree in biotechnology, still in Bologna. Then I moved abroad. I did my PhD in Germany in plant bioinformatics. And basically, I kept staying in bioinformatics since the start of my PhD. Learned how to program. So I used all my background in biology and all the growing amount of data from the new technologies of the biology world together. So essentially learning how to do heavy lifting or data science, if you wish. And then I did my postdoc in the United States, my second postdoc in the UK, and then I got hired back by my alma mater, the University of Bologna. And it's been fun. I've been a professor there for 3 or 4 years almost. And this kind of study that we also submitted to preprints, it's basically what we do. So currently we do transcriptomics. We generate our own data occasionally, or sometimes, like in the case of this study, we merge our own data with the data already publicly available in databases of microarrays or RNA-seq. And pretty much that's what I am. Bioinformatician with molecular biology background. Yeah, essentially, I don't know if the audience knows, but PFAS are environmental pollutants. They're used as they are fireproof materials in anything from firefighter vests to pans to make them fireproof. And essentially they do not degrade very well because they are a new compound to nature, and they persist in the environment. So we wanted to know if their effects that have been discovered before, the detrimental effects to living organisms, were conserved across vertebrates. We also tested C. elegans, a nematode, which is not a vertebrate, to see how far we could push this. But essentially, the main finding of the algorithm is that by joining a large amount of data, the signal rises while the noise or the technical errors of each individual data set cancels out. And essentially, they affect hormonal pathways, estrogen pathways in all the vertebrates we tested: humans, mice, zebrafish, anything from human to fish. So the power and the discovery of the tool is twofold. One, we developed a method to integrate data across organisms, and this is useful from a more basic science point of view because it will allow also future studies to increase the power of individual data sets to test for effects of compounds across living organisms. And the second one is specifically on the effect of PFAS. that it is detrimental, and we do know that it not only kills farm animals, this kind of compounds, but also blocks their reproductive cycle. Because by mimicking, testosterone or estrogen, they kind of mimic naturally occurring hormones. It makes individuals sterile. So, and it affects a very basic mechanism of vertebrates, which has been around for tens of millions of years. So yeah, that's why it's so dangerous, because it's affecting something that is present in many vertebrates, if not all of them, and maybe also nematodes. But in that case, yeah, the data was insufficient, so that's where we stopped. So we said, yeah, we cannot go further. But that's it, pretty much. Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, after the preprints went out, and also even the actually final peer-reviewed paper, we got contacted by local authorities that wanted to include this in their own analysis. So, for example, like we work in Italy, of course, and the PFAS are basically in every industrialized country, so also here, especially in the Veneto region, which is 200 kilometers from where we study. And there they are conducting studies, and this study fueled their basically it gave them scientific foundation on why to divert more public effort and funding towards eradicating these pollutants. So I would say it increased a bit the level of awareness. I don't want to say emergency, but yeah, it increased awareness, so that was a good thing. And thanks for to being it in preprints for a few months before being in peer reviewed. This saved them a few months, so it made them do their decision, take their decisions earlier. Yeah, there were many reasons. Of course, we wanted our work to be available sooner to everyone. So that's the main reason, of course. That's why I like preprints service in general, not specifically preprints.org, but in general. Also, and that's the ethical reason. So we want facts to be shared as soon as possible, so people can make informed decisions, which are always positive. The second is, of course, it makes your research more findable, let's say, on search engines, because it not only puts it there earlier, but it puts there in a different kind of platform. Because we all search for research on PubMed, on Google Scholar, on Scopus, on the main search engines, but sometimes people just use Google. Also now preprints are available in Scopus and Google Scholar, maybe also in PubMed, correct me if I'm wrong. This wasn't always the case, so but in general, having your work available in more places is better. You can be found better by someone that maybe doesn't use all the correct keywords. Like to find our paper, you type PFAS, the compound we study, transcriptomics. But maybe you just search for PFAS, and then this increases the chances of our publication being found. And yeah, so that's kind of very important for us. Then there is an aspect, so these two are available sooner and more discoverable, let's say. Then we can, I think people are afraid, that this is my colleagues, may I say the older colleagues, that are afraid of being scooped because they put the research on preprint servers earlier, and someone else is gonna steal it and copy it directly and send it to a peer-reviewed journal and steal their idea. And that's actually exactly the opposite, because by putting your discovery on a preprint server earlier, you can claim with facts, with a date of submission, that you were first. So I know this is less ethical. This is more like ego. They're not really ego. It's like claiming the discovery. It's not only ego; it's also the access of future funding for the same studies. But yeah, this is something important. I don't care personally of being remembered as a discoverer of, but I know many others of my colleagues do, and they are afraid that preprints will, steal their thunder and their recognition. And it's actually exactly the opposite. And this is point 3. Point 4. It's more nuanced. It's like when you submit, I don't know if all the audience knows, but it is kind of like peer review in the sense that you do send different versions of the paper even to a preprint server. So in our case, we sent multiple versions of our paper as it grew. So the first submission was the draft complete. So the paper was unpolished, maybe was lacking some data, but all the structure was there. And then if you search in the preprints.org history of the paper, you can see the paper grow. So that's also, maybe you don't see this, for example, in peer review. You get the paper after several rounds of reviews and you don't know how it looked like at the beginning. But like this, it's instructive because you can see that every study changes from submission, so the, let's say, director's cut that the authors wanted, plus the mistakes, typos, etc., and the final version that was kind of modulated by the intervention of reviewers and editors. So it is better in a way than peer review because it shows the growth. It's like having several cuts of a Tarantino movie. So most people don't care, they want just the final one, but it is important for people that work in the sector to see also the growth process. It's instructive for students also. And also the final point I have, the fifth, is that having the paper on preprints.org motivated my team. So we are 3 authors in this. There was me, a postdoc, the first author, and a master student, so an undergraduate. And I can tell you, it was really exciting to see his work published on preprints before his graduation. So because it was like, usually undergrads, like with a new reform, they stay in my lab 6 months. That's not enough to have a paper printed. So he was lucky because he arrived while the paper was already being written, but he was lucky enough to have, on the day of his graduation, he could show that his work went into something that was already online, still under peer review, but online. So I know it's not scientific, but motivating the youth, I find it rewarding, and now he's in a PhD, so yeah, I won't say preprints.org helped him pursuing his career, but it was like a piece of his enthusiasm during the master thesis. That's it, 5 points I found why I did it. Yeah, that's a tough question because honestly, I think the biggest here I don't have points. It's just thoughts that I have. Preprints in general, all the preprints server services, so by Archive, SSRN by Elsevier, they are, and also preprints.org, they are, as you said, perceived as not entirely legit from some of the older, can I say, boomer-esque academia. So the kind of, not necessarily anagraphically, but old-style researchers that are afraid of preprints. I don't know, what I lack sometimes, when I'm not defending preprints.org every day like a paladin, but sometimes I have discussions with my colleagues about if to use preprint servers or not. And what we are lacking are like comprehensive studies that show, for example, the percentage of preprints that actually turn into peer-reviewed papers, the average impact factor divided by sector. So a comprehensive study, maybe commissioned not by Preprints.org, but by the joint preprint servers, all of them. So that would give us, us dependents of the preprint system, a tool to say this is actually not bad science, it's early science. It's maybe unpolished science, but it is still real data and real findings. So yeah, that's the point. I don't know, maybe there are better ideas. They should totally do. So like my point stands, sharing your research on preprint servers, also on preprints.org, does not increase your chances of getting scooped. Of course, maybe if there is a very niche case in which you have a direct competitor stalking you, but that's like 99.999% of the cases not true. So yeah, I would say submit it. Also, a suggestion is do not submit an unreadable draft. So, of course, preprint servers have their own standards of quality. You cannot submit gibberish and hope, I don't know, I'll just put the title and fill the abstract and text with random words. No, I mean, it should be polished. So also, this is a mistake I see in my colleagues. Sometimes they just submit to preprints a half-finished paper, something they wrote only the introduction of, or something they just put the pictures, the figures of the paper. And they said, preprints.org rejected this. And it wasn't a complete manuscript. So my suggestion is do it. Don't be afraid of getting scooped. It's increasing the speed of research while not decreasing the quality. So it's a win-neutral situation. It's like there is nothing to lose. And maybe this is too much, but try to submit high-quality stuff. So also the reputation of preprints does not get tarnished. Although I must say, I only tried bioRxiv, and preprints.org. You can get rejected, of course, if you submit something that doesn't make sense, or if you forgot half of the paper in the upload. So yeah, so be a bit careful in the submission, and that's it.
Follow us on our social media platforms to stay updated, engage in discussions, and help spread the word about scientific research.